Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to see you guys. I see a couple of known faces, so very excited. Let's get started. Um, if you do have questions, keep throwing them in the chat. Catherine, me, and even Shweta and Mansi are going to keep a lookout for them. And in case we haven't answered them, we can take them towards the end. Um, I hope you all have your chai, water, breakfast in place because it's going to be power packed. We're going to be doing some live exercises. We're going to actually start working in the session on you owning your career breaks. Are you guys excited? Because I really am. You can just put in whatever you feel, whatever you're feeling right now in the chat box itself. I see Vidya has already mentioned wonderful to be here. Thank you, Vidya. Also, I would love it if all of you are comfortable with switching on your videos. It gives us energy when we are, sharing stuff with you. If you can't, it's fine. But don't worry about stage. As you can see, I'm in my morning avatar. Super. All right. I'm gonna need you guys to be more energetic because I can only see Nivedita who's put an excited in the chat box. If you're not excited, you can tell us. It's okay.
Well, I'm really excited to be here with everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm located in California and I work in the Silicon Valley kind of startup environment and really enjoy it. But I'm just so happy to be here with you to share kind of my own experience and then hopefully help us all own our career breaks with confidence.
Yes. Super. On that note, I'm going to share my screen. Hi guys. Welcome to Owning Your Career Break, powered by Lean in Bangalore and the amazing Shweta and Mansi, who are insanely efficient with everything. Also, we have Catherine Kasak. Catherine Kasak, I'm guessing that's the right pronunciation. And that's me, Saloni Mehta. Now, what is the problem when we take career breaks? Let's take a second to think about why people in India, especially, because I think we're majorly Indian audience, are scared of taking their career break. Anybody wants to give it a go? We had a few answers, but what happens when you enter an interview room?
Because it makes getting back that much tougher, and you're viewed as someone whose skills are not up to date. So that's why a career break is looked at with a lot of apprehension on both sides.
Super, thanks. I'm sorry, can you share your names as well because I can't see who's speaking. I would love to know who was this.
Hi, I'm Pavitra. I'm in the midst of breakfast and have just stepped out of a shower. So that's why I hadn't put on the video.
Oh, you're looking lovely, Pavitra. And also, thank you for sharing that. And also, anybody else wants to share, just mention your name because I can't see the gallery, so you'll know who it is. Any one or two more people? People also think that you will not be as committed as Vidya be in chat.
Yeah, hi, this is Koshika. I also think one of the reasons why people avoid taking the break is because once you've done that, the Indian culture that we have, I would say, not just the Indian in general, the outlook becomes that, you know what, once I've taken a break, I might not be able to go back. Not just because I'm professionally outdated, but also because, you know what, my family circumstances might not allow me to, kickstart it again.
Yeah, fair point, Koshika. Thank you. Last call, anybody else? One more person, we have space for one more person to share.
Hi, Meta here. One of the aspect people might be viewing as that the reason why someone took a break, it can be because of like being incompetent or such way. That perception can be an inhibitor. So people prefer not to have that.
Fair.
Aditi here. Could I also add something?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, see, obviously, one of the reasons why women especially, really scared of taking a break is because you can really get sucked into the household work and then lose track of your career. then the external aspect is obviously it will be doubly tough for you to get back. But I think one thing always gets left out, which is taking a career break is also a very courageous decision. And it could also be a decision where you're being true to your priorities at that moment. So that's a very scary thing to face for any human being. Why am I working? What should I do? So rejigging that entire thing is scary, which is also one reason why people don't want to take that break. They just want to go ahead and follow the herd.
Super.
So,
Thank you so much, Aditi.
yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And Ritika has mentioned in the chat, it's a challenge to get fair compensation offers from the employer. And Shiny says must be putting, people assume, people, you must be putting personal concerns over career. Now, the thing is, when you take a career break, then it becomes the elephant in the room, which nobody is talking about, but everybody is thinking about, and it's creating this discomfort, right? Because of all the reasons you guys mentioned. That is, that, hey, people don't think they're serious about it. People are worried they'll not be able to manage home and work. People are worried they may not get entry back. They may not get fair compensation. Um, Sometimes people lose confidence, and our job is to understand how do we address this elephant in the room, right from changing the narrative of our story to how do you take care of it in the interview, to identifying the values and skill sets you do bring to the table.
What is your problem, Anil? Huh? Nee, go on your TV undu.
Yeah. To sorry, I lost track for a second. Yes. To understanding how do you kind of put it up on your LinkedIn to make it accepted and known. And yeah, we have a surprise guest for you as well today. And I'm very excited. I'm in a mission to have about at least 10,000 people start owning their career breaks on LinkedIn and normalizing the entire idea. Because once we hit that critical mass, I think we can change the world. And I'm hoping all of you guys, all of you lovely people here are going to help me with that. So, yeah, let's see what we can do with this elephant in the room. And before we do that, we have two small stories to share. That's going to be Catherine and me. We're going to share the stories of our career break and what the whys and the whats behind it. Catherine, over to you. I'm going to just stop my share so that everybody can see you.
Great. Well, thank you. I'm really excited to be sharing with you. So I gave a little introduction to myself, and I'm going to be speaking with you like we're old friends, right? You know, I'm just telling you about what the experience was. We know each other. You're a trusted friend, and so if I really think about where my career break started, right? It's probably when I had my first child and then needed to go back to work when he was 3 months old. And that was heartbreaking for me, right? That was, it just felt too soon when he was still physically dependent on me and we were still building our bond. And at the time, I was the breadwinner in our family. And so I didn't really have a choice, right? There was no option. And so I went back to work. And it was just something that weighed on me generally. And then about 2 years later, I was actually diagnosed with thyroid cancer. And I'm healthy now. But when that happened, it was a really big wake-up call for me, right? I mean, everybody knows that our time on this planet is limited and not guaranteed. And here it was staring me in the face. And it was really difficult for me to think about, you know, not spending some more one-on-one time with my son. And so fast forward a few years later, actually, because I was still the breadwinner of the family, it was finally time and I was able to have an opportunity to stay home and I decided to take it. So it was just before, it was like a year before my son started kindergarten. So I still had that year with him home where we could really bond and be together. And I was pregnant with my second child. So I thought, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take some time off, not a ton of time, you know, just enough, right? Like maybe when she is 12 months old, I'll go back to work if we can still handle that financially. And then, you know, life on life's terms happens. And She was actually born with a medical condition that we didn't know about until she was born. And so at that point, you know, it was a tough time. And she's healthy now, and there are some symptoms that we kind of always have to look out for. And so what ended up happening was I actually didn't feel comfortable sending her to daycare until she could say to a teacher, this is how I'm feeling, you know, if there was something wrong. And so my career break actually ended up being much longer than I anticipated. My career break was 3 years, about just shy of 3 years. So when it was finally time to get back to work, when she was around 2, you know, I was ready. She was ready. My career is important to me. It's something that I'm passionate about. And so I was really excited to get back into the workforce, but also pretty trepidatious about that interview process and what to do about my career break, right? Like, how do I represent that on a resume? What do I talk about in interviews? And the way that I approached it was actually to shy away from it and hide it a little bit, right? Like, I felt a bit shameful about it. And I think that showed up. It showed up in the fact that I did not represent it on my resume. I skipped it over completely. And it showed up in interviews in that I was not talking about my career break in a confident way, right? I wasn't celebrating it. I was very quickly trying to get past that part of the interview so that I could wow them with all of the other parts, right? And so once I did get back into work, what I actually realized was I had these aha moments along the way where I realized that I was a much more valuable employee after having my career break than I was before. And that's because of all of the skills that I developed when I was caring for my children and engaging in unpaid work. And I call it unpaid work because I truly believe that it's important work. It's just unpaid, right? And we're developing skills when we engage with that unpaid work. And it's not always recognized because it's not paid. Was I at that time going to seminars, taking classes in my career field? No, I was lucky if I could get a shower and feed myself during the day, right? With 2 small kids running around. So, you know, it was a really interesting journey. And so when I was back in the workplace, I realized, hey, you know, this really stressful work situation, I'm really calm within this. Why is that? Oh, because this is nothing compared to all the other stuff that I've dealt with in life, right? And I found that I was really able to prioritize. I worked efficiently, and it was a great experience of building my own confidence. What I would love in this session is to help people get to that level of confidence before you have to have that aha moment, right? For you to know upfront that no matter what the reason is for your career break, you're growing during that time, and it can actually become your superpower. So when I went back to interviews again, right? You know, it's been years since I've been back in the workforce. So I've had a few rounds of interviews. Essentially, I went about it by owning it. So if you see on my LinkedIn, I own that career gap, and I will write out my skills for everyone to see. In the interview, I frame it very differently, and you'll see kind of examples of that in a little bit. But I don't shy away from it. Instead, I really highlight it as a superpower. And not only that, but when I interview at a company, I am interviewing them as much as they are interviewing me. And it's really important for me that they are going to be able to support my work and my life. So my motherhood, my responsibilities outside of work need to be something that they're going to support my engaging in the way that I need to. And so I actually interview companies on that as well when I'm in the application process. So that's why I'm here. I'm really hoping to just share what I learned so that you don't have to go through those steps of feeling insecure when you go back to the workforce.
Super. Thank you, Catherine. That was a very inspiring story. Um, and the fact that you stood your ground and sort of, you know, did not compromise on the fact that you have a personal life was fascinating. Um, and also the fact that you're doing the job you love, right, without compromises. it just lets you know that it's possible. And while Katie might be in California, I think some of the problems are same everywhere. There is some matters um, taboo sort of associated with um, having a career break. Okay, you guys cannot hear me. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because here in the Silicon Valley, it's extremely competitive here, probably more so than other parts of the country. So that process has been a learn in and of itself, right? I've only been in California for 5 years, but very interesting to see kind of the differences. And I'm sure that what you all are facing is not the exact same as what I'm facing. So I hope you'll just take bits and pieces of what you learn here and apply it to yourself as best as it suits you, if that makes sense.
Yes. Super. All right. Thank you, Katie. All right. So that was Katie's story. Hi guys. I'm Saloni Mehta. And last year I decided to take a career break. I did that despite being offered a sabbatical by my company. In fact, I've been offered sabbaticals twice in my life, and both the times I said no. Um, the first time I took the time to go and do my meditation and my vipassana, though I did have a job in hand at that point. But this time I said, I need to do some soul searching. I'm clearly unhappy with the corporate world. I don't know what this means in my career, but I do know that doing what I'm doing right now is not working. I'm mentally unwell. I'm mentally unhealthy. Um, every day is difficult, and there is no fulfillment. So I took the career break. I did nothing. So for 3 months, if anybody asked me, "What are you up to?" I would say nothing. And it was not easy because a lot of people judged me. I was in Bangalore, and I met a few people, not too many, because that is the 1 month I took to strip myself of all identifiers. But every time I met somebody, they'd be like, "Hey, what do you do?" And I'm like, "No, nothing. I'm just living." And they're like, "What does that mean?" And I was like, "I'm just living." And it was funny, but back then, it was extremely difficult to understand um, for others what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Cut to 1 year later, uh, I did choose to start my own company because that was the vision, that was the dream. Um, Initially, when I started, I didn't do well because I was still in the nothing phase. So the biggest learning for me was um, that I tried to start work too early. If you're taking a career break for yourself, for your soul, the the best thing you can do is leave yourself of the guilt of doing nothing. Obviously, be mindful of keeping savings in place so that you're not worried. I had 3 years of savings when I took the break. Like I would not go broke for 3 years if I didn't get a penny in my bank account. But I did a lot of nothing for about 8 months. Officially on my LinkedIn, you may see that I started my company last year in September, but I did a little bit of work here and there. It was this 2020 May when I actually seriously started working. And that is when things actually moved for me because I took that nearly 8, 9 months, to understand what I care about, to go do my yoga meditation. And the result of that is I actually have an interview with Inside IIM. I have a podcast which got put out. I had a college which invited me that, hey, we want you to come and talk about entrepreneurial mindsets. And this happened because I took my career break. So we're so scared of what will happen if I don't, if I leave the workforce. We don't realize what the possibilities are if you do leave the workforce, right? I keep telling people this, that you need to walk away from the things which are not right for you so that you create space in your life for the things which are right for you to come in. And yeah, my career break story is actually very simple. I was a lost soul who decided to say, screw it. I'm just going to live life and I'm going to see what life has in store for me. And I can tell you this. Um, it's difficult. It's not easy running your own company, especially when you do not know what to do about it. And when you do continue to have mental health concerns, but I would do it again in a heartbeat. So while it's not easy, I think it's extremely fulfilling when you own your life and people have also sort of, reached out to me saying, hey, do you want to get hired? And I have said no to those jobs. So it's actually possible to be the one sitting in the driver's seat saying, hey, I'm not interested in your job. I'm only going to pick up a job if I like it, because there was a small period, a small window where I was thinking of taking a job. So yes, my story is just about breaks for life. I didn't travel, by the way. I didn't do anything fancy. I just lived. And I think it works. So yeah, that's my story. I hope you guys could hear me. I have brought in like headphones.
Yes,
Yeah, I
sir.
could hear you well.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your story. I think it's important to acknowledge that career breaks can happen for a lot of reasons, and people have a lot of different reasons for taking them, right? I think, saying, oh, I'm taking time off to care for my children or for family, that's something that's pretty common, right? But I think it's really brave and important for us all to acknowledge that there may be times in our lives when we need to take a career break for ourselves, right? So I really appreciate your sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. If you have questions, I think there is one question on here. I have been applying for relevant jobs. I have a 9-year career break. Shilpashri, we will be answering your question. There is a hack to kind of get called in for those interviews. We'll share that with you. A couple of tips and tricks around that as well. All right, let's move to the next section. So that was us. Before we go ahead, what we would like you guys to do is either you can unmute yourself and share, or in the chat box itself, share what do you think are your fears, concerns, or worries around the career break. Yeah, go for it. And Katie is going to lead this bit. So Katie, over to you.
Great. Yeah. Okay. So flood the chat box. And when you think about this, just try to frame it for yourself as I'm afraid of blank, or I'm afraid people will think blank, or I'm afraid blank will happen, right? So take a minute, think about it. You can put it in the chat. If you're not comfortable putting it in the chat, write it down for yourself too, because I think it's really important for us to acknowledge our fears. The biggest worry is not being able to get back to mainstream workforce when I want to. Yes, right? So will there be a delay? And just like we've seen, right? We've got a comment earlier that talks about having a 9-year career break and having trouble getting back in. I always believe we have to be true to our resume, but I've been discouraged not on showing a career break by women who've actually had a career break. That's interesting. Yep. Fears turning into reality, not getting relevant roles in a different sector, keeping the skills and experience relevant, getting back to the workforce as people would start judging us. Are you not committed to the professional life? Being rejected for a career break and being told that on the phone. Cool. Yeah, that's, and I hate to say this, but if somebody is going to reject us for a career break, do we really want to work at that place? Like, what does that say about the culture of that company and what our long-term experience is going to be there? Okay, how to handle if I was fired in a previous role, what happened? Yeah, are you incompetent? Is that why you're on a break? Not paid as much. Starting from scratch again. Are they going to see me as a slacker? How will I fit back into the company work culture? Yeah, that takes a minute, especially if you've had a long break. But it's okay. And people kind of realize that when you tell them that you've had a break. Losing confidence. Technology is changing. All right, so lots of really common and totally valid concerns and fears here. I won't be able to get the self-confidence to face the interview girls. Okay, great. These are really, really good. How much time do we have, Saloni, to talk
We have
through?
about a minute.
Okay. So what I want to do is I want to acknowledge all of this, right? There's a lot of fear and concern that goes into this. And then I also want to reassure you that there are ways to still get back in the workforce and promote yourself and make it happen. I'm also going to share that my first step back into the workforce, I took like a mini step after 3 years. So I kind of worked for a nonprofit that was pretty low pay for a period of time. And then once that was on my resume, I moved on to the next thing. You can also do things like volunteer work in sectors that allow you to stay up with your skills if you have the time. Like I said, I did not. But this is great. So everybody, I encourage you to read through this chat box, and we will keep this in mind as we go through the rest of the session and try to address as much of it as we can.
Super. All right. Thank you, Katie. I would just want to add a little bit to what Katie said, that lots of the questions, I will not say they're not valid. Oftentimes it's about reframing our break and reframing who we stand for and what we stand for. And the next section of our session is going to be focused around this reframing. So without further ado, let's get to this. So Shweta, can you share the link?
Yes, just sharing. Give me a minute.
Awesome.
Yeah.
As you're sharing that, I want to just one thing that I'm reading here, which is concern about interview confidence. So when it comes to interview confidence, the more you do it, the more confident you become. So every no is just another opportunity to get better and better at interviewing. I've had a lot of no's. I've had a lot of interviews. You know, the other thing is practice. So for me, it's like pulling a good friend aside and being like, okay, ask me about my career break, and then answering it in a few different ways and saying, hey, what do you think about that? And we're going to do something similar in a few minutes.
Yes. Yes. All right. Just a second. Shweta is going to share the correct link. Yes. So what I want everybody to do is we're going to begin reframing. So because what you focus on expands. So instead of focusing on all our worries and issues, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the positives that we own and that we have and take it to the world. Please use the link. You can put in as many words as you want. When you click on the link, it will ask you to feed in a couple of words. We have about 3 minutes to put in the skill sets that you bring to the table. If anybody has an issue on how it works, just let me know. Just about 1 more minute, guys.
This is great, and I'm reading the bubbles that pop up, which I love. And I'm seeing a lot of skills that you can also reinforce and grow during a career break listed here. Some that are harder to do that with, but I love what I'm seeing here.
Oh, lovely. It's brilliant. Technical expertise, patience, lifelong learner, development sector. Come on, guys, we can do better than this.
Courage, yes. It is courageous to take a break. Women's empowerment, yes. This is good stuff, y'all.
Time management, lovely. I can see more people have added this. Coding, adaptability, multitasking, negotiation. Super. This is so good.
Negotiating skills. I practice that with 2 tiny children a lot.
Yes.
Cool.
I think I'm loving the responses here. Come on, I'm sure there are more.
Yeah, people management, leadership, those are skills that you don't lose when you take a career break, right? Like if you're a good people leader, that's hard to find. You'll be a good people leader again when you get back to work.
Yeah. Yes, you will. But I can see that the women here are being very careful about what they're writing, and there are definitely more things that they can do. All right,
Startup.
we have 30 responses and about 40 people.
Great.
Okay. Adaptability, lovely. Work ethic. Yes, often people think this is especially true for those who are parents. You need incredible work ethic to just take care of a household, man. The lockdown taught me how much my mother does. And it's not even funny, even right now, because I've been preparing for this. My mother gave me my breakfast.
Oh, she's
And
so good.
it's like, I took it for granted until I was in lockdown and I had to make everything myself and take care of no maid, no cook, no mom, nobody. So now when she does this, I'm like, oh my God, I took this for granted. So work ethic, lovely. Multitasking, lovely. Women in child development, lovely. Quick learner, lovely. Okay, what I'm going to do is I had done a similar session on full-time parenting a while ago, but we can take a look at our workload. I will add these, but we found at least 40 skills in 10 minutes with that section. And these were a mixture of women who were on a career break, and it was a mixture of people who hired women after they went on a career break. So it came from both hiring managers as well as aspirants. And we also had men uh, s- uh, in the small conversation we did, and they contributed their thoughts as well. Just a second, I don't know why this is happening. There we go. Yes. Deadline orientation, multitasking, remembering multiple tasks, efficiency, spans of control, professionalism, prioritization, high EQ. So underrated having a high EQ, because when you're taking career break, you're inherently empathetic to yourself. Creativity, empathy, problem solving through empathy, resourcefulness, creativity within limited resources, role modeling, because whatever be your reason, there are people in your life who look up to you, who are looking at you, and you have been their role model in some way or the other, and the way you handle your career break also is influencing them. Let's go ahead. Constructive feedback, communication. Oh my God, communication, especially important. Resilience. So, for example, let's say you've been laid off. One option is to feel victimized and be like, oh my God, I got laid off, blah, 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 blah. Or be like, okay, I got laid off, no big deal. I'm going to find a new job and I'm going to come back stronger. And Pursuit of Happiness, Will Smith, in case you've seen the movie, right? That's what he does. So resilience is insane because you have to deal with so many questions and so many things that the world shows you, asks you when you're in a career break. Life skills. Yes, life skills, coaching, optimism, reflection, collaboration, managing disparate stakeholders, right? It happens. You're dealing with so many different stakeholders, time management, diffusing situations, selflessness. This was done for full-time parenting, so some of these may not apply to other kinds of career break, but there'll be other skills that you can add. Perspective, ethics, value building, self-awareness, honesty, storytelling, jugaad. Jugaad is hustle, um, budgeting, accounting, mental health, relentless, research, make sense of unstructured environment. And post COVID, this is going to make a lot of difference. Just the fact that you are somebody who can work in an unstructured environment, who can work, through chaos. is huge, and somebody who has the courage to deal with the unknown. It's not written here, but I think courage to deal with the unknown is a huge thing. Crisis management, project management. These are 40 that came up in 10 minutes like this. And there are some which are not here but are there in this word. There is networking, somebody's mentioned networking, somebody's mentioned patience, courage, startup. So it's it's insane. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share a sheet on which I'm gonna put these 40 down plus add the ones that came up here, and that sheet will be accessible to all of you. You can feel free to keep adding more skills, and if you're getting stuck as to what is it that I bring to the table, you can come and look at the sheet and get inspired. Does that make sense for you guys? Does that work? Yeah, any views, any thoughts, anybody on this?
Lots of yeses in the chat. Awesome.
Super.
So one question here, Saloni. A lot of these are soft skills, and typically when recruiters are talking to people who are coming back from a career break, they're just focusing on the hard skills. So a lot of the time, the onus is on us to change that conversation from why you took a career break to the skill sets we have built during the career break. So how do you manage that conversation is something if you could cover, that would be fabulous.
Yes. So, amazing question, Shraddha, because actually the next section is a role play. So we're going to do a little bit of a role play for people to see how you can navigate the conversation, and we're going to do up to 3 role plays. And after every role play, we're going to ask the audience who's here to share their thoughts on how that went. Are you guys geared to share your thoughts? We will allow you to unmute. We will allow you to put it on chat, whatever works for you. So the role play is going to function like this. Katie is going to be the interviewee and I'm going to be the interviewer, just to set the roles up. And after this, I'm going to remove our faces from there so that people can see us. Yes. All right, Katie, are we good to go? Are we ready?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Katie, would you want to tell me which role are you applying for? So then I'll set it up according to that.
Let's take us back in time to instructional designer.
Super. So you do need technical skill sets for this, right? You need to understand instructional design.
Yep.
Yes. Great. All right. So we're just gonna get into the role play. I'm getting into the zone of not being a very nice interviewer. Somebody who has all those elephants out there that I don't want to talk about. But yeah. Yeah. Hi, Katie, right?
Yes. Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. Hi. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Good. All right. So, Katie, tell me, how can you add value to us?
Well, I have a lot of experience in instructional design. Before I started out earlier on in my career at the Home Depot, and we did every type of instructional design that you can think of, and I owned the process start to finish and was really known as the person to come to.
Yeah, but I see you had a break for 3 years and things have changed since then. So, I mean, are you up to date with the latest stuff?
Yeah, I did take a career break, and I'm really excited to get back to working full time. The skills that I had before are still fresh and really transferable. I've done a lot of reading and tried to stay as up to date as I can in the industry. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Do you think so why did you take a career break, if I may ask? What was the motivation behind it?
I decided to stay home with my family for a time. I had a child who was sick, so I ended up being home much longer than I thought that I would. But I'm ready to get back now.
Okay, so will you be able to deliver, are you sure it won't come back again? Because we're looking for somebody who can sustain long term and, really dedicate to the job and, puts it as a priority in their life.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she's totally healthy now, and you know that's why I'm ready to come back. And you know, obviously, I still have a family to support. You know, when I'm home, but I'm ready to give a job 100% while I'm there.
And how long will you be there?
Oh, I'm looking for something long term.
No, no, as in, um, are you going to put in full days or?
Oh, of course, yes, yes. Yeah, I read the job description ahead of time, and I know it's full time, so that's what I would do.
Okay, all right, thank you. We'll let you know.
Okay, thanks.
All right, super. Before we move to the second round of the role play, audience, feel free to unmute yourself and share with us what were your impressions of the interaction that just happened.
Can I go? This is Shilpa here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a 9-year-long break. That's what I mentioned in the box. Although it's a break, from a full-time job, but I've worked on various projects. I've done a lot of jobs like project basis jobs or retainer and freelancing kind of jobs. So it's not like it's not like I was totally out of the workforce, neither was I full-time into the workforce. So how do I project that when someone asks me, what were you doing during the break?
Well, thank you for the question. We will be addressing that.
Okay.
Actually, the question is, what was your impression of the interview that just happened?
Because I felt she was slightly uncomfortable when someone asked her about the break. I kind of understood what she was going through, because I go through the same when someone asks me, which is why I want to know, how do we handle that?
Yeah, it's so hard. And I'll share that I even had someone ask me, is your husband okay with you going back to work? Which I was blown away by. Honestly, I was like, what? And I totally was like, I don't know. I had to recompose myself to even answer that question, to be honest. And I understand where that comes from, but I understand what you're saying, right? And I see some other comments here, right, around it wasn't as impactful, it seemed apologetic. The interviewer,
I felt it was almost apologetic. In fact, we get asked all kind of questions. I was asked, like, who will manage your children when you're away? Do you think you can take the commute? Do you live with your husband? Because all those questions came up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that let's hear some more thoughts, and when we do it the next time, hopefully I won't open myself up as much to some of those questions, if that makes sense.
So, this is Ritika here, and what stood out for me was that there is very little chance that this candidate will get selected, because they've not even got a chance to showcase how they're right for the job. The interview almost was completely centered around the break. So compared to another interview where they would have focused on what they bring to the table, this candidate would not stand a chance.
Yes, I agree. Super. So the interviewer was judgmental. B said yes. Pavitra has mentioned the interviewer sounded very skeptical. Should Katie have given more details about her life stage? Okay, fair. So let's take a second look at this. All right. All right. Katie, are you good to go for the second round? Yeah.
Yep. I'm ready.
Yeah. Super. Yeah. Hi, Katie. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you? Really excited
Great.
to be here. Excited about the question.
Yeah. Super. I want to know what value will you bring to the table for the job that we have on offer?
Yes, well, I'm an experienced instructional designer, and not only that, but I also have experience in managing an entire university level of programs at the Home Depot. I managed Home Depot University, which we were essentially responsible for all leadership training for the company, which was a fantastic experience. I did take some time off of paid work, and I engaged in caring for my children at home, which was quite honestly the hardest work that I've ever done. But I truly think that it taught me the most out of any experience that I've had. And so really excited to bring the skills that I have gained from that experience to the organization. And that includes the ability to prioritize appropriately, to work in really high stakes situations, and really to approach things with confidence at a level that I wasn't able to do before.
Okay. How familiar are you with the latest instructional design, tools, fundamentals? Because it was 3 years ago and the world changes very fast.
Yeah, that's a great question. I have experience using Captivate to create e-learning. They always have new iterations, but I'm a really fast learner. So I do read up on general changes within the industry, different methods for engaging learners and maximizing the success of training. And so I'm confident that I still have that skill set, and I am up to date on all of the cutting edge and best development.
Have you been doing anything to stay updated, or you're just confident?
I have not been going to networking events, and I really haven't been creating anything from an instructional design perspective per se, but I teach my children every single day. So I keep those skills alive in that way. And I have a master's degree and have extensive experience prior to the break that will carry over in this scenario.
Okay. And what about your career break? You said it was the most rewarding. So why do you want to do this? And how are you going to manage work with career, like with family and your child?
Yeah, I'm personally at a place where I'm really excited to get back into my career. My career has always been important to me. My intention was never to leave my career, right? It was always to get back to it when the time was right, and the time is right now. So, what I was really excited about with this position is that it seems like the work that I've done previously would really benefit the company, especially around leadership training.
Okay. And would you think your home will interfere with your work?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Do you think your family life will interfere with your work?
Oh, not at all. I worked with a child before, so I've been a mom at the workplace, and I actually found that I was a much more effective worker after I had my son because I was more focused at work, I was more efficient, and I got what I needed to do done really, really well, so that when I was with my family, I could really focus on them.
All right, thank you. Thank you. We will let you know.
Great.
All
thank
right,
you.
guys. Yes, Katie, you were saying something.
No, that's it. I was just closing the interview. So what did we think?
Yes.
I thought this time Catherine came across more in control of the conversation. And also what she did very beautifully was she addressed the elephant in the room right up front. So instead of the recruiter bringing it up, she spoke about it up front, and this is what had happened, but she did not dwell on it a lot. And she kept talking about her skill sets in every way she could by bringing it again and again in the conversation.
Anybody else? Vidya B says much better, but the interviewer was still skeptical. Is it the lack of more recent small projects in that area? Pallavi B says there's usually a lot of technical questions asked. I've done this in the past where I might add a bit of technical aspect and then build on my soft skills more because that might be my strong point. All right. Neelam's asking, this was much better, but how to handle the question why we should hire you compared to other candidates who are more experienced in this role. The interviewer was not asking enough technical questions to gauge the candidate's capabilities. Great. All right. My personal opinion. Oh, Shiny, you want to say something? Yes.
Sorry. Just to add to what everybody has said,
interviewers usually do not even ask like these many questions for you to explain. Okay, usually sometimes they just brush through asking like one single question, and if you're not able to tell them confidently how you have taken charge of your career break and what you're trying to bring to the table from the career break, it's just gone. Okay, they just assume that you might not be so competent when you come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. So I've had interviews that were a lot like what we just had, where people were really digging in and asking a lot of questions around that. And then I've had interviews where I get one question about my career break, I explain it, and then we go right into the technical piece, right? How would you handle creating training around XYZ? How do you manage projects efficiently? And if you can then answer all of those technical questions really, really well, then you're more likely to move on to the next phase. And what I would also say is that if there's an interview that's really going into it, like, how are you going to handle your kids at home? What are you going to do? That is always a red flag to me about the organization that I'm applying to. So, yeah. I also want to point out that I didn't talk about my daughter specifically, right? There are things that I will share around job interviews, and then there are things that I have shared, and I have shared that in job interviews, and I find that it gets me down a rabbit hole, or it opens me up to just too much. Sometimes it's also very personal and not their business, to be honest, in a job interview. And so I've learned to pull back on that and really cull my story a bit, right? Like, that's not my good friend in front of me, the way that I was treating all of you in the beginning. This is an interviewer. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolute sense, Katie. That was lovely. For me, I think personally, one thing that happened was that I felt it was slightly overconfident. Where she was just like, yeah, 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 I can do everything. No, 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 this is not going to be a problem. Uh, Obviously, this is slightly simulated. So what happens is I'm digging deeper in the career break questions. But in some cases, you just get one chance to allay all the fears, the said and the unsaid. The elephant in the room is normally never addressed. So even if your interviewer is not asking you, um, will you be able to manage work and home? What kind of hours will you give? They're still thinking about it when they evaluate you after the session, after your interview is done. So not only do you need to wow them with your technical skills, but you need to ensure that you're on the same page when it comes to everything else, and them being okay with the fact, if not completely gushing, but at least okay with the fact that you have a career break and it won't come in the way of your performance.
Yeah, and I think saying, like, letting people know that you're a quick learner is always really important, right? I'm a quick learner, I'm adaptable. A lot of these skills that I saw a little bit earlier will allow you to fill in any gaps that you have when you get started. And the truth is, I just went through an interview process for candidates on a team, and everybody has a gap, right? Like, nobody fits a job description perfectly. So this is your thing that you would need to overcome. You just need to explain that you're capable of overcoming it. And I hope that helps to answer this last question. How can I tell the interviewers how, it doesn't, manage home as you've never been to work after maternity break? Honestly, I would do a little bit of research on the fact that parents perform better in the workplace, and I would have that ready in your back pocket, right? And just say that these skills have taught you to really focus, and you think you'll be an asset to the team.
Yeah.
I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah. The other thing that you can do is also mention the systems you're setting up to take care of the transition. Because if you are able to demonstrate upfront that, hey, I know it's going to be a switch, and to take care of the switch, I'm going to be doing A, B, C, D, so that I'm fully present when I'm here and I'm fully present when I'm there, or whatever is the nature of the culture, because every place may have a different culture. As long as you're able to show them that you have systems in place and you have mechanisms in place, it not only shows that you're ready, but it also shows how prepared you can be about something. And then you'll be like, hey, this is the kind of ethic I bring to my work as well. I plan for stuff. So you take that question, turn it on its head, and demonstrate a different skill set altogether. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know, the other thought that I have is back to what I had said earlier about you're interviewing the company as much as they are interviewing you. And I know that sometimes when we take a career break, we feel like, oh, we're lucky if we get an opportunity. We can't look at it that way, right? And what I find is that when I'm confident and I say, okay, hey, this is how I'll handle my family situation. Now, how are you going to support me as a working parent? When I turn that question around on organizations, now they have to sell their organization to me and they have to talk about how they support a diverse workforce. And that's important.
Yeah. Let's do this, Katie. Let's do one more quick role play and see how this would work. I think that would be the last role play. And if there are questions left, then we'll talk about them. We have some setups. We have a couple of things planned to help you with it.
I am not prepared for this one. So I'm just going to go with it. So you like maybe throw some questions at me that address some of the things that our audience. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, anyways, kind of going extemp. So by the way, all the role plays have been unscripted by us. So Katie has no clue what's coming her way and she's kind of winging it. So
no, I'm sweating over here, y'all. I'm stressed. No, it's okay in a good way.
Yes. All right. Hi, Katie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. Hey, Katie. So quickly, would love to understand what's the value we can expect you to bring to the company?
Yeah, you know, I'm so excited about the mission of your company and it really resonates with me. And I think that I can bring my skill set, both in instructional design, but also program management for leadership training to the organization to help you meet your goal, especially around ensuring managers are trained appropriately and then, you know, are able to apply that skill set on the job.
All right. Okay, interesting. So I just wanted to know if you are updated with the latest developments in instructional design and the workplace and how they function and behavior changes.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I want to point out that I do have a career gap on my resume. And as I stated on the resume, I took time to care for my family in an unpaid fashion. You know, during that time, I developed a lot of important skills that I can apply at the workplace. And I actually find that I'm much more confident after that experience. I understand how to prioritize in a different way. I have a lot of patience, you know, and really stressful situations that may feel stressful to others just don't feel that stressful to me. So I'm able to stay pretty calm under pressure. You know, that's addressing the you know, gap in my resume. But from just a skill set perspective, I have a really great foundation in that I have a master's degree and I have a lot of experience in this field prior to my taking a break. The only area that, you know, I might need some time to ramp up on would be in creating e-learning. I do have experience there. There are always new variations that come out over the years, but I'm a really quick learner when it comes to
time will you take?
I'm sorry, what?
How much time would you take to ramp up on new learnings? Because we're looking for somebody who can get started quick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, the first 30 days of onboarding is typically getting to know your coworkers, getting to know the role, meeting with people and starting to bite off little projects. And what I would do is I would just incorporate a few days worth of time into that to play around with whatever program it is that you use for e-learning and make sure that I've mastered it by the time you're ready to release me and let me go full force.
Okay, and if I may ask, how are you going to manage everything because you took a career break to care for your family?
Yeah, you know, we've got a really great family plan. It's all set up. We have everything in place for me to go back to work successfully and to be able to focus on work and do a fantastic job for this company, just as I've done in the past.
All right, great. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Katie, I was hoping you would ask me hear what is it that you have set up for mothers and how many mothers are part of your
Let me do
workforce.
it. Let me do it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me show that example. Yeah, you know, I'm really curious. So we've got things set up on our end, but of course, you know, all parents at any workforce, they're going to have children who get sick from time to time, and there are going to be things that come up. And so I'm wondering how you support parents in the workplace to support, you know, both their work and also their responsibilities at home.
We have a policy. We bring in we do have sick leaves that you can use up, or you can buddy up with people. For maternity, we have a maternity room. That's, as we all know, standard procedure. If you have any special requests, you can let us know.
Okay, great. So it sounds like you work with people on an individual basis and you have some policies set up. Do you find that the culture is accepting of a diverse workforce that includes parents?
Yes, yes, diversity is very important to us. I mean, we champion diversity. That is what our CHRO has been championing all around, and we look to our employees to help us get started. Um, we're also introducing, policies for fathers, new fathers especially in the workforce, and we're experimenting with flexi timing, but our hours are intense, so we're figuring out how to do that.
Well, that's fantastic. And I love that you're, you know, really thinking about fathers too, because it really takes a team to raise kids. So that's fantastic. That makes me feel really great about the possibility of joining your team.
Super. Thank you, Katie. Any other questions?
No, that's all for now. Thanks.
All right, super. Thank you. What did everybody think about this? You can unmute yourself. Okay. Nivedita says super. Vidya says the best one. Neelam says super. Vidya says lovely. This one covered many key aspects. Shrishti says much better, very well balanced. Super. So a couple of things that you can do.
Oh, someone.
Yes. Who's
Yeah,
this? I'm sorry.
This is Shilpa again. Yeah, Captain was asking about the kind of work culture they have in terms of do they have enough diversity and things like that? What are the plans they have to absorb women and all? Is it also okay to ask them how comfortable are they giving people flexible hours in times of, someday I want to just rush back home and then my children are unwell someday. Seasonal flu, I want to just get back home. So how comfortable are they giving flexible work hours to the employees? I mean, I don't know how to ask them these things. Like, this is the first time I'm seeing that even I can interview the interviewer. So
yeah, it's a good question. And here's my tip on that, right? My goal for the first interview is to sell that recruiter on me. I'm ready to jump in. I'm excited. I might ask generally about diversity, but I'm not going to grill them on how they support parents, because that might put a seed of doubt in their mind about what my priorities are. And we've already addressed the career gap, right? So I want to end really strong on that first interview. If I get to that second interview, that's when I'm going to start really asking those questions back to the organization. And that includes flex time. So in a role like instructional design, it's pretty typical that people work from home a few days a week. You can ask that even outside of the context of parenthood. And let's be real, right? Like, after the age of COVID-19, a lot of us are going to be asking, hey, what's your work from home policy? What's your remote work policy? All of these companies are rethinking that. So I think it's fair to even ask that question outside of parenthood to get a baseline there. And then you really ask about, hey, how do you support working parents? Does that help?
Yeah, Shilpa says yes in the chat. All right. So a couple more tips that you can do is one, always ask questions around the growth trajectory. What is the growth looking like in the company? how will your career progress? Because that shows a focus on your career, right? So I know for a fact that one of the things that I do teach in interview coaching and that I've done even with the interviews I've cracked is um, they always ask if you have any questions, and I go prepared with one question specifically related to the company and the strategy. So I've done the research, and the second I ask is, so how do you support um, growth for your employees? What kind of plans do you have in place? Um, so what that does is it shifts the focus that they have on you as a career break person to shifting it to somebody who cares about their career growth. The other thing that you can do is not just ask about flexi timings, but actually put them in the spot and be like, all right, I'm really, gunning to go and do intense work or whatever is needed. Um, if you think that if they are parents, and especially if it's a female interviewer, go all out. Okay, this is specifically for female interviewers who are parents. How do they manage home and child with their work? And be like, I would love to understand how you do it. Because I think that would give me some ideas on what works for you guys, because I'm committed to making this work, and I have a few systems in place. But so what that does is it creates a relatability factor that, hey, you're a parent, I'm a parent, you're a woman, I'm a woman. So remember, interviews are never won just only in the right answers or the technical answers. They're won on people liking people, right? And the can you guys hear me? Yeah. And the best way to do that is generate empathy, not sympathy. And how do you generate empathy is you find common spaces that you can work with the interviewer, right? And you want to kind of get them to sort of start talking about how they support you. You want to get them to be like, if you haven't been in the workforce and you need to get updated, um, if you aren't doing it, this is something you do need to do. Find some time before you start going to the workforce to take a few courses, or just read up and stay updated and drop them in your conversation. For example, let's say you're a web designer. Just an example. Oh, I love the new 2020 design template. XYZ is the color of the year and it looks so great. What it does is you don't need to say I'm going to be updated and relevant. You have shown them you're updated and relevant, right? Ask them insightful questions about, okay, so I've worked in ABC technologies. I know these are the most popular ones right now. Which one do you use? Right? What it does is it creates a dialogue from it being an interviewer, interviewee quotient. And the best interviews are the ones which turn to conversations, which were really pleasant and there was value. Does that make sense? Yeah. And on that note, what we're going to do is there's a small Google form we're going to give everybody. And we're going to give you about 5 minutes to write down those answers. The responses will be shared with you. It's optional to write your name and contact details in case you want people to reach out to you, or you are okay with you want to reach out to people and help each other. So can you share the Craft Your Story link, Shweta?
There are two of them. Which one?
The first one, just craft your story, not responses. Wait, got it. Yeah, that's the one.
So could you repeat what people are supposed to do for this link?
What you need to do is the form looks like this. All right, you can just fill out the answers over here. Name and contact details are optional. The others, we haven't made them optional. This is to just kind of set the stage for you to help each other and help yourself more than anything else. So just start answering these and we'll start seeing responses. Yeah. Oh, wow. We already have a few responses. Also, I would urge you guys to spend, we have 5 minutes, spend those 5 minutes. If you want to resubmit, it's okay, to flesh out your answers. I see something in the chat. Give me 1 second. No, please use this link. The previous one was a Slido. This is a Google form.
I'm not able to see any other form. I'm just getting the previous one, what we answered about the career break, the first one.
No, no, I'm just sending the link again in the chat. Switchy.io, craft your story. If you fill the form, then it's fine. If you want to fill the form, the one I showed you guys on my screen. Okay, we have about 14 answers. 2 more minutes, guys, then we need to jump in. Thank you, Pallavi, for joining us. What I'm gonna do is this form link is there with you guys. Feel free to keep filling it up as and when you want. The responses will be shared with you. The link is going to be shared over here as well. I have big eyes. I'm a generous person. What happens? And I'm sorry, I'm being very truthful and honest because I think that can help you. What you need to do is reframe it and say that, hey, I'm somebody who cannot sit still and I need to do good work. So when I don't have freelance projects, I want to still give back and do good work. So I volunteer and I do ABC and quantify your work. Okay, put numbers there because volunteer people think every time pass ke liye kar liya. I got XYZ amount of funding, or I managed a project which required blah 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 blah. Make sense, Shilpa?
Yes, I actually volunteer in those areas where I want to learn a specific skill set.
So you need to it's all about storytelling. If you remember Katie's role play, right? We did 3 role plays. And if you notice the way she had the same story, her story didn't change, but what she said changed the entire narrative of how I, as an interviewer, looked at it.
Okay, I got that.
Yeah. Katie, any thoughts?
I think you can use your examples of volunteering to answer some questions, right? So instead of thinking of it like, oh, I have to cover all of my volunteer work in one chunk of the interview, what really gets people interested in a candidate is when they're able to provide very clear, very specific examples of the skill set that they're looking for. So what's great is your volunteer work, your contract work gives you more stories to pull that show that skill set, right? So I would just encourage you, maybe you just need to spread it out a little bit, kind of how you're talking about these. I'm making some assumptions in these recommendations and I own that, but I hope that some of that is helpful.
Right. Guys, we have about 10 more minutes to go and we have our special guest, Deepa. So we have Deepa Swami, who's the co-founder of FlexiBees, to join us. FlexiBees is fantastic. I'm in the process of getting somebody hired using them. They're especially people who help women get back. Women or both women and men, Deepa?
Only women.
Only women. They especially help women who want to get back to the workforce or who want remote working or flexible working. And Deepa is amazing. I personally have a lot of love for her. You can check them out at flexibees.com. And Deepa, would you want to kind of share a bit about yourself in a quick 1 minute and then we can take one of the questions we have?
Sure. So thank you for the generous introduction, Saloni. You can hear me, right? Okay, great. And I think I don't want to be like returning Saloni's compliment, but Saloni is the most awesome professional I have met. So she has personally given me a lot of self-development and branding, personal branding possible. So I'm very grateful for Saloni. And I have been in touch with Saloni and Shweta both, and it's really great to come back to this community. So what we do in a nutshell is, like she said, we provide part-time and project-based roles to women, and specifically women who have returning from a career break, or even women who just want to work flexibly on their own terms, but find it hard to find meaningful roles that can be done flexibly. So if you want to compromise and kind of settle, there are options, but we don't want to do that. So we want to provide women the chance to work in areas that they have past skills and experience, because that is the biggest confidence booster. And that's what we do. We get roles from clients and we do a deep recruitment to place women in flexible roles. So that's it about me, Saloni. So any specific question the group wants to know?
Yes. Firstly, I must mention that I know for a fact that Deepa has helped people get placed at all levels across companies from startups like mine to established large MNC players. So I think so everybody was wondering, does it really happen? Can you have
Hmm.
work with large MNCs? I think you can, and there is somebody there. Deepa, on that note, the first question that I do have, I have
Hmm.
two simple questions. One is, um, what are the myths that exist around returning
Hmm.
professionals,
Okay.
taking a career break?
From the client side, like that, in the hiring
So,
process, you mean? Okay.
yeah, for the hiring.
Okay. Hiring process. Okay. So since we are recruiters specializing in returning women and career break, so we don't actually, we kind of break through the clutter and the myths. But from what we have seen, from finally after various rounds of interviews, women go to the client selection process, the client interview process. There, from some of the learnings that we have from that side is what we can say is, one is that we need to give extreme detail about our career break. So that I think somehow it happens that if there is a question around why did you take a career break or why what happened, somehow there is a tendency for us to be 100% vulnerable and kind of reveal every single detail and focus on the problem in a very very deep way, right? So while it is useful to have that vulnerability with a recruiter, or they want to match the profile, that's fine. But what the client really is looking for is to understand you, your personality, even beyond the break. So yes, you touch upon the break, why it happened, but the focus should immediately shift from the problem to the solution fast enough. And I'm sure the speakers in this session have coached you a lot around that. So that is one that we see even after our coaching, that it's very easy somehow that we get into the trap of being extremely vulnerable and revealing every single detail of what happened. So just give a little bit and then quickly focus on how you are ready today to come back and what all you have done. So I think Saloni must have coached you already. That is one thing. Then another myth is that there may be a job description which is quite simple, and you have gotten through all rounds of interviews, and there may be a assumption that actually there is no upgradation required to your skills just purely by seeing that particular role or job description. However, we have seen that somebody who has demonstrated that they are proactive, they have taken some steps to upgrade themselves skill wise, industry wise, or their own profession wise, they definitely have a better way of speaking, and they definitely have an edge over somebody who has not. All other skills remaining same, right? So even as recruiters, we will need to provide a choice to clients to select from. So it is a myth that you don't. You can get away with not doing any kind of preparation. Say, for example, just to give an example here, every function it differs. Say in an accounting kind of profile, GST is something which has come up of late in the last few years, which women might not be comfortable with, and most organizations have teams to deal with it, right? So while it is not 100% required, some knowledge or some upgradation definitely shows that you are proactive and you want to learn once you come back. It's okay if you learn fully once you come back, but awareness is something that is not a choice anymore. I would say these are the top things, and considering the limited time.
Yes, thank you, Deepa. And how do recruiters perceive responses? Like, when you're responding to career breaks, what would be the one or two big tips you would give? So that from the recruiter's POV, this is what they're looking for if they've called you for an interview or if they're shortlisting people, both cases.
Right. So I'm a little conflicted here because we are also recruiters and we don't penalize career breaks because that's what we do. Right. So I would say definitely coming from a position of power or confidence. Right. There is a reason why the break happened. Break is just one part of you. The break doesn't define you. The break is just a number, your years, your age. These are just numbers. They are in the mind, and there is social stigma associated with it, but they are not the whole you. I think that is very important. So that's why we say even in the returnship journey, you need to have anchors, your own anchors, whatever gives you the ability to have self-confidence in your whole self. So career break is a part of you, own it, that's fine, but it's not the whole you. So I think that perspective shift is necessary, and that will kind of feed into every answer you speak.
And any suggestions on how do you kind of get shortlisted for interviews? Because a lot of people are like, hey, I just don't get called back.
Right. So there is unfortunately the reality that this ecosystem is new, right? We have been in this for 3 years and we have placed several hundreds of women. That said, the number, the sheer ratio is skewed. The number of applicants, there are millions of women, whereas thousands of jobs. So the ratio is skewed and there is a selection which happens. So it is hard. But what we can do to up our chances is, first of all, so there is a process you have to follow. You have to see, first of all, revise yourself. What is it that you have done? What are the skills you have done? Then take a look at the industry where it is going, where your domain is going. So if you're a marketer, where is it going? Whether can you pick up some digital marketing skills? One is picking up. I'm sorry, there is a lot of noise. I'm at a bird park. I hope you're you're able to hear me, hear the words. So pick up the key skills, key things that are changing in your industry. First of all, pick them up and also representing them in a value adding way, right? So you have to, so many women kind of leave it to the recruiter to figure out what they're good at, right? It's while it's their job, it's up to us to showcase in the best possible way with skill sets, experiences, keywords, because finally there is an element that the computer also selects, right? There's algorithm based selection which happens. You have to hit those keywords. So the keywords match is very important. And look at the different JDs that are available in your area and see how you can sharpen and position yourself in a way that you can be attractive, and be available. So be available mentally, physically, by continuously being in the game. When people call, be available. Show proactiveness from the time that you are called, right? From the first call onwards, because all of these are indications of your eagerness to get back, right? So don't make people follow up, because all of it kind of, again, it shows attitude. And attitude is a very, very important thing for flexible working in general and for returnship. So be engaged in the process, and showcase your skills and prepare for the interview. So I think Saloni must have guided a lot here. So preparation, so it's not that directly we go and enter the interview. There is a specific, note down what are the key questions that can be asked which make you nervous, and prepare for it. Look at the mirror and talk a few times, get the practice so that the nervousness goes away. It should be authentic, it should be real. At least you have to bring your best self to the interview, right? You should do justice to your own self. That's what we need. So it's a myth that preparation is not needed. Preparation is needed. And I think that's all we can do, right? We can do our best, but do your best, and you'll achieve it.
Thank you so much, Deepa. By the way, just FYI, along with me, we have Katie, who has done a brilliant job of adding her career break on her LinkedIn profile. And
Hi, Katie. Great to
with
meet
that,
you.
Hey, great to meet you too.
thank
Same
you
here.
for doing this. And guys, if you guys are looking to return back and you're, while you may be looking for something full time, I would strongly urge you guys to get in touch with Deepa at FlexiBees. You can find her on LinkedIn, or just enroll yourself in flexibees.com. I think I've heard some rave reviews about them, and I'm waiting to get my first hire from them. So, keep that proof in the pudding. They're the only person I'm talking to actually to get a hire, because I don't have the time to figure it out, and I'm like, you will get me the right person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Great.
great. Thank you so much, Deepa.
Thank you
I'll
so
see you
much,
soon.
Saloni.
Feel
Thank
free
you.
to hang around, but I know you're outside, so we'll, you know,
Yeah, I think it will be easier if I leave so much,
yeah,
so much of
yeah,
noise. Yeah. Hope you
yeah,
have a great session,
yeah,
and all the best to everyone trying to get back.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you. Bye bye.
bye bye. Okay. I know, guys, we're a little over time. but I think we got very engrossed in the Q&A. We have a very important section, and after which you can feel free to hang around, ask questions, or leave. It's really late for Katie as well. I know. Thank you, Katie, for staying around. Um, yeah. And let's go to LinkedIn and see what you can do. Now, before we go there, there's one thing I want to tell you, that remember, you should put your career break on, especially on LinkedIn. I used to sell LinkedIn Talent Solutions about 5 years ago. And what happens is the system auto calculates the number of years you've worked, right? So when you, what, even if you have the skill sets and you may know the information, your number of years falls, so you do not cross the filter itself, right? One. Two, when there's a gap, the recruiter doesn't know what the gap is. So they may land up picking somebody else, even if you get past the shortlisting. I have sat in recruiter rooms and I have seen the recruiters ask, "Yaar, ye 3 saal ka gap. Why does this have a 2-year gap? What did they do?" Now, the best thing that you can do is actually answer it upfront. And I'm going to show you what I mean. Give me 1 second. So we'll start with Katie. Katie, do you want to take us through what you did with your LinkedIn? I fell in love with it when I read it.
Sure.
Yeah. Is this
Right before Up Academy.
there,
Well,
there.
yes. Okay. My eyes are terrible, so I'm going to do my best. If you press see more, then you'll be able to see.
I'm going to click on see more, and there we go.
Okay, great. So I will share that when I created this list, I had something like 10 of them, and I really needed to cull it down to the few that I thought were probably most relevant to my career goals. So, you know, I just said managed healthcare, nutrition, cognitive development, learning activities, and emotional awareness of tiny humans. Notice how I wrote cognitive development and learning activities. That's especially relevant in my field. Developed immeasurable patience and the ability to focus on what is most important as opposed to the loudest request. So yeah, so this is true in motherhood, but this is also true in the world of learning and development, because there are a lot of requests that come, and sometimes there are loud requests, but that's not necessarily the priority that's going to get our company to meet its KPIs. So, you know, that's how I end up connecting that one. Achieved confidence in high stakes decision making with little to no direction. Right. And that one is deeply personal for me, because with a child who had a health issue when she was very small, and she's good now, but I just felt like I was making life or death situations on a daily basis with her, which probably isn't accurate. That was probably more of an emotional frame. But that's the thing for me, that now that I'm in the workforce, nothing feels super stressful to me after that, right? And then performed countless experiments in learning human behavior and sleep deprivation, just to add a little bit of humor to those who are also parents and can relate. So that's what I did on my LinkedIn profile.
It was fantastic. I think, Katie, I came across your profile because you were tagged by somebody on the Full-Time Parent Initiative I started. I fell so much in love with it that I showcased it on a page called Full-Time Parent. Guys, there is a page called Full-Time Parent. You can see the logo here. Feel free, if you're parents, to tag yourself to this page and update your skill sets. I'm going to show you a couple more options around parents. Give me 1 second. This is Lucy, who has done something similar to Katie over here. You can check, if you go to Full-Time Parent and Employees, you will find them there, right? Organize cost effective delivery and enhance service as a treasurer and leader of local play group, right? Look at how she's used the word treasurer, delivery, very smart. Something COVID mutual aid group. By the way, I actually got a client by volunteering for free at a COVID aid, thing. So you do not know what goes where. Since I did a break for soul searching, I have created another page called Life Inc. Shweta, I have loads of links I need to send you clearly. But there's a page called Life Inc. If you want to get a page created or you want to create a page, feel free to do it. I'm going to populate it more. The elephant is what we're going to have. I love it, Katie. All credits to you for the elephant. She found it. I love it. And I've written something very simple, discovered my purpose, improve my physical and mental health by 50%, started my own company, powered conversations to improve self-awareness. Because for me, I was exploring my inner self majorly. I did not travel, I did not do anything fancy, is why I have written something like this. But if you have traveled, you can do something like what Saransh has done, traveled full-time, 8 countries, 146 days, right? And I like how he's done 146 days. That really stands out, right? And what he did is he was also connecting and meeting with interesting startups intermittently. I know because he is a junior of mine. But just this kind of makes it so fascinating, right? So you can do that. Which page do you want to link to, Shrishti?
The one that you're referring to, I'm not. I think I lost track in the middle. I'm not able to.
The live link
find.
page?
Yeah.
I think this should work. Yeah. Right. So there are a couple more. So Katie, somebody's actually taken what you've written and adapted it. The first line. Tiny
Oh, wow.
humans.
Yes, that's so funny. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're okay with people adapting what you've written, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that this really resonates with people. That's a post that got more views than I've ever had on anything, right? And honestly, it's what got me here with all of you amazing humans today. So yes, please take it, modify it, and people seem to really respond to addressing career breaks in this way.
Yes. So please do that. There are 2 pages up. There is Full-Time Parent and there is Life Inc. If you think you want to create a page on your own, do that. Share it with us. Or if you want a page created, let us know. If it's possible and it's generic enough, we will create a page. Yes. But please do add your career breaks to your LinkedIn stints. If you notice what Saransh has done is he took a break and now he's working full-time at ByteDance. He did get a job back, right? And I know for a fact that Saransh has taken different breaks in his life and managed to come back. So it's possible. And none of them have been maternity or parenthood breaks because he's younger than me. So yeah, please do that and be this. I think we need to have a round of applause for everybody who's planning to come back because now we turn the elephant in the room to something as beautiful as this elephant. Thank you for sticking around, those who did. We know we went over time a little bit. We're really passionate and we're really excited to help you guys. So the top takeaways, Katie, do you want to do the first one?
I'm sorry, do I want to
share one of the biggest takeaways that you would want to give to the people here?
I mean, I'd actually like to share a takeaway that I learned from everyone else here, which is that there's a lot of bravery that I see in everybody who joined, right? Both in your sharing and in the paths that you have to get back to the workforce. And I want to acknowledge that everyone's going to take a different path to get there, but it's possible for each and every one of you. And so I think that my biggest takeaway is that we're really in this all together, right? Like you have a community who's here to support you and who you can reach out to and who's rooting for you.
Yeah, super. And I think takeaway 2 would be just reframe your conversation of the career break to be as powerful as this beautiful elephant and actually make that the reason why somebody should hire you. That this is why you need to hire me because I have these skill sets none of the others will bring to the table. And the technical skills is something I will learn in a jiffy. Right? Whether it is soul searching or parenthood, the minute you kind of do that, yeah. So I think these are my top 2 takeaways. Obviously, we've done a bunch of things. We'll be sending out all of the links and all of the resources. And a big, big thank you to Shweta and Mansi and Lean in Bangalore for creating this space for us to come and talk. And Katie, obviously, since we're co-hosts and not separately thanking you, but Katie has burned the midnight oil literally and is burning it literally right now to make this happen. So, Shweta and Mansi, over to you.
Thank you everyone for sticking by. I know we are over time by an hour, which is a lot. And I am I really hope you found the session useful and you had strong takeaways. We have a quick poll for you just to check in case you feel more confident about having taken the career break and talking about it. Yeah.
While we are answering this poll, can I request everyone to turn on their videos so we can take a quick picture with everyone?
Ladies, I think 5 more people to respond. Okay, and this is the first, okay, for us, where everybody actually said that they're more confident about talking about their career breaks after this session, and I'm really glad about it. We'll quickly take a picture and we'll wrap up the session. We'll share all the different links that Catherine and Saloni spoke about in a separate email to you. And what we'll also do is do a blog post so that you can come back and check on the takeaways in case you think you missed anything. A recording will also be available for the session. Ladies, can we come on screen, please?
Could we see all your lovely faces, please? Just a minute.
Mansi, over to you. Take the picture for the group.
Just a minute. Smile.
I think a lot of people anyways dropped off between when we started to when because of the fact that our session went longer, but I hope they can catch up on it later as well. So thank you everyone. It was lovely having you here. You can follow us Lean in Bangalore on Facebook, Instagram, and all of other social media handles that we have. We also have a blog post on Medium, which we keep updated with our key session takeaways that keep happening. And we also run very, very busy and buzzing WhatsApp groups, which has, I think, in combined, we have about 400, 500 women on the WhatsApp groups who keep talking about different things related to career and and everything in between, from motherhood to wellness and so on. So reach out to us in case you would like to be part of them as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you, Mansi, for arranging this. And guys, Katie is open to you reaching out to her on LinkedIn if you have questions.